Perfect. All right, we are live on YouTube also. I love Zoom. All right, good people. 9:30 tonight also, we are, Sean's doing a presentation. He wants me to join him on the presentation, so it'll be the two of us. Hopefully that'll be recorded also. I would do a recap, but the two of you were there, so I'm not going to waste any time on that.
Do you actually know who are doing the other nights this week or no?
I do not know the schedule. I think Chuck is Chuck doing tomorrow? I have no idea.
Okay.
And I thought Charles was actually going to do today, because that was what Brian kind of said. But no matter, whoever's there. I still like the idea of the 17-minute video first, and if they need more information, to go to a Zoom, and there's always plenty of those available, which is good. I like the second exposure being in the Zoom. The question is, should the first exposure just be, and I saw when I was preparing the training for today, so I want to take you guys through the whole training. I'm assuming we went through it all before. This is just the quick start training. The document will change just with some wording, but it's something I thought about today as I was preparing for our conversation tonight. Let me ask you this. So Tasha and I spoke about it. What was your biggest takeaway from this weekend, Kristen?
Wow. There's so many, and I've just been going off, today I was just reviewing.
Give me your top few.
Commitment and setting goals and reminders in my phones. I'm just right now writing out like what I want to commit to each week so that I can parse that out, especially scheduling.
Yeah, I like that idea of putting a deadline in your phone. So then there's your accountability partner right there. Your phone's going to go off.
Like these are the things I want to get accomplished each week. And kind of just modifying it a little bit for some of like the things that we talk about in our group, like the 10-a-days, like I want to do 5 of those per week, just trying to list that out so I can start programming them in my phone this week and getting to it. And then also trying to set aside a little bit of time to kind of study each week, even if it's only like 20 minutes or 30 minutes of my time to study, some new content, or to do some skill and drill, practice some stuff out loud.
What do you do for personal development? Let me ask that question. When you said study, that's where I went first, but you're saying something else.
Well, yeah. So like, new things that we learn at Game Changer, I'm just looking at like the 3 stages of millionaire, which may be, maybe simple, but just trying to like study parts of the presentation, like whatever it is, like commit to studying some of our content. Personal development, I do YouTube videos, and I also have an app that I can do that does like short segments of different books, kind of like summarizes them.
Cliff
so
notes.
I do that.
Cliff notes, as we would used to call them.
but audio version.
Yeah. What's the name? I think that there's a few apps out. There's a few apps out like that I've heard of too.
So just trying to like really like prioritize and kind of schedule that time out and then make it consistent.
Okay. Um, one of my biggest things I always get from listening to Brian is his level of integrity, and how I always feel like that he what he's doing really needs to be our North Star, because there's a level of, and I've been in and out of network marketing for, since the mid-90s, and I don't think I've ever, and I've been with Tasha also. We've met some of the top people who've made six figures a month in this business. People who went on to start other companies, and it's rare to come across someone with the integrity that I continue to hear and see. What we hear and see with Brian. It's just it's probably one of the most impressive things, and his ability to do what he does also is pretty cool. But the integrity thing just it stands out, when you really understand what it takes to be in this position too. So, but I don't know if you want to add to anything of that, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that piece kind of hit home for me, like, just owning that, like, who am I as a person? Like, am I really keeping what I want my integrity to be just for myself, right? And then, your results from the business are part of that commitment to yourself that no one else really sees except for you. So yeah, I think he is phenomenal, and I just am blessed to be under you and under him. And I'm just ready to go. Like, let's go get this. And I think the better version of me, better version of the business.
Mhm. Absolutely. So hopefully this helps. I'm going to just share my screen real quick. We went over this last time. I'm pretty sure both of you were on this one before. This is interesting that it does this. Right, so we talked about the 3 steps. If this is unfamiliar, let me know. I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly. So there's a part I want to get to. It's going to help us reverse engineer goal setting, and it's going to be a little bit different than what some people probably would do in this business. But in a lot of the goal setting workshops I've been in with, like Anthony Robbins and Brandon Bouchard and Ray Higdon, they talk about it differently in a way that I think will be beneficial to the 3 of us, right? So, in a business, we have, a quick start. We have our 3 things we need to do daily. The cash flow piece is going to always be. This also helps with customer retention. So last week when I went through the apples, I cleaned that training up a little bit, made it more. It's in line with this also, so it's going to be part of like the series. But if we are always on top of our cash flow game, and say like Alejandro, who is hopefully going to be back in the mix soon, according to him, I texted him also. He said he's ready to get back to it, but he didn't respond to my last message, which is interesting. But when people, here's what I heard this weekend also, consulting the experts around wealth accumulation, they will keep you honest with your membership as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when they say, hey, let's do this, and then have a plan for 6 months out, that means you got a customer locked in for 6 months. So the roller coaster of retention is easier to manage when you have folks go through the entire system. So I have a customer I need to follow up with who did the tax part, working with credit, and I'm going to ask to say, hey, listen, have you done X, Y, and which have you done the rest of these? And that's all I do is I text her like every other week and just say, hey, how's it going? Have you been able to start this part? Hey, make sure you remember to consult with the wealth experts, because they're going to show you how to tie everything together. And I think once they go to two or three of those pieces, then you have a customer who's locked in and really working on building their wealth. So that's cash flow is always a thing that we need to just be on every day. Our own, make sure we have solid stories, making sure we've been through the entire process, because a lot of people who don't see the big vision of this whole thing, if you look at how much of the services they're using, it's also minimal. So that's always a big deal. And you know, it's the easiest way for us to have. And when I say customers, even when we talk about customer retention, customers and reps there's a very blurry line between the two of them because they both equal about the same thing. Mastering the question, have you ever heard of, right? We talked about that. And follow-up. Follow-up is the key that came out this past weekend on several occasions. And follow-up is in many pieces, and we have a whole follow-up training that we're going to go through at one point also. This sheet is huge because it just keeps it. And I know Sean and them redid their version of the roadmap. They put everything as check boxes, but I really like just the cashback piece as a checkbox because everything else should be. This should just be what you get started with. This sheet should be good for your first 30 days, and then after that, you should be going to the 50-15-5 sheet. But this really should be for your first 30 to 60 days in the business, because that's about how long it should and could take you to hit all of these things with your cashback stuff, the momentum bonus, and even to get your daily guarantee up to 600. You know, but that should be the goal. But working through this sheet and working through this part, you know, it comes down to the cashback part and being able to ask that one question: have you ever heard of? Right? Because if you get used to that question, then it will carry you through this. And if you can ask that question to one person per day or average it out, you'll definitely be able to. I would say it wouldn't be hard for you to get 3 members in your business in your first 30 days and your first customer in your first 30 days, right? So here's the question, of course. Now, here's what I'll ask 2 of you. We talked about having a 4-minute video. The 4-minute video, I like if they know nothing. So consider this, and let me just ask you guys this. Brian has his 9 videos, but those of the folks who've seen nothing and haven't been peaked or anything, the videos literally are, hey, I saw this and I thought of you type of videos, right? That's the language. So whether you have people with sons, dads, you know, whatever, he has those 9 videos that I saw this and I thought of you, right? My voice isn't still back from this weekend too, which is weird. I didn't even present. I'm sitting here. Let me go to the EDM site real quick. Right, so here's the EDM site, right? Boom. Share this. Right, so you got the EDM site, and he has different videos, right? So if you click on any one of these, breaking generational curses. I thought about you when I saw this. These work if you know the person very well. If these people are not in your warm market, right? So we always talk about warm and cold market. If they're not in your warm market, all of those 9 videos don't make as much sense. And that's the challenge with those videos. I can't say to a person who I don't know, even a colleague, like I can't say to Jeanette Estrada, who works in your building with Eucharist, right? I can't say to Jeanette, hey, I saw this and I thought of you. It's not, even though I've known her for years before she even got to Impact, there's a flow. Mr. Wolf, I couldn't say that even to him. So those videos work with your warm to hot market. They don't work well with lukewarm to cold. So those 9 videos, because of the language there, don't really work. But here's the cool part, because our 4-minute video is more of a peaking interest video. If by the time we go through these the questions, if you do, have you ever heard of, and the tie down, they're already telling you they're interested in hearing more. I want to ask your opinion, Chris, and you also, Tosh. Is going right to the 17-minute video too fast? Because think of this: if I say, I'm gonna have Chris, I'm gonna have you, just for the purpose of drills, I'm gonna have you prospect me. What you looking for? Why are you looking around? Come on now.
Oh no. Any particular scenario you want, or?
You choose. Dealer's choice. Go. I
Hey,
like
Dana, oh, go ahead. You want like fresh, like fresh from like the beginning of an interaction.
I like the questions we use and the tie down because you don't need a scenario. You really don't. Like when the guy was asking, anytime someone says, "Hey, what do you guys do?"
Oh, okay. So just,
So
hey,
if
Dana,
you
have
want,
you ever heard of income shifting?
no, what's that?
Listen, if you could put more of your money back in your pocket instead of giving it to the banks and the government and taxes, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Well, listen, if you're at all open to learning more, I can shoot you a quick video. If not, no worries.
Yes, I mean, sounds interesting. Sure, send it to me.
Okay, great. Let me get your phone number and I'll shoot you a text so you can check it out.
All right, yeah, here you go.
All right, cool.
What do you think? What do you think of that, Tosh?
Oh, I forgot my mom. Can you hear me, Kristen?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good. It was short, sweet, simple, painless. You didn't talk a lot, Kristen. Good. I thought it was pretty good. I don't even think that took 30 seconds.
All right. So let me do it with you, Kristen, and see if you notice any nuances or differences. Kristen, what's good? How are you, sweetie?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How's your mom feeling?
She's hanging in. She's a trooper.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. Hey, listen. I know you're busy. Real quick question for you. I want to ask you this before last time I saw you, but I didn't get around to it. Have you ever heard of income shifting?
No, I haven't.
Really, really. So let me ask you this. If you could put more of your money back into your pockets instead of into the pockets of the IRS, the banks, bill collectors, and you could put more of that money back into your pocket, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So if you're at all open to learning more about how you can do that, I have some information I can send to you. It'll explain it all. And if not, no big deal, but I'm working with a gentleman, the Michael Jordan of this industry, and he has a video that explains it all. If you're open to it, I'll send it to you. If not, no big deal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, more money. It's good for me.
Any nuances you heard different when I said it to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you opened to the conversation, obviously. And
Beside that was
oh, okay.
that was more for me just to make it flow better. But beside that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely your pacing, it was a little more you. And you already started to edify. Like you already started to edify the person in the video that you were going to send me.
I'm gonna give you some other pieces, and Tasha remembers this also. When we used to drill it, we used to drill the body language also, and the tonality. So when you say and you said shouldn't you, should is very suggestive. Wouldn't you pulls them in, right? And even I mean my voice is deeper also, but the tone going up draws questions. The tone dropping at the end draws conclusions. So if I say, hey, one is like, hey, it sounds inquisitive, and hey sounds like it's more demonstrative and it's more of a statement. So here the tone pieces also, and again, this is with new people. I wouldn't even get too much into this, but this is more, you guys were here for the whole weekend, leadership and everything. So I say, hey, question for you. Have you ever heard of income shifting? No, what's that? Listen, so check this out. And it's almost like it's brain racking. Like if just think of this, figure this out, check this out. Like this is mind blowing stuff. Like you're giving them something that's like, think about this. And it's not casual. It's not like, well, I mean, if you could put more of your money back in your pocket, like, if wouldn't you, shouldn't you? Right. And it's almost like, it's optional, as opposed to, this is absolutely like, this is a
Mm,
no-brainer type of deal. And
yeah,
in that, it's some posture pieces also. But it's like, listen, if you could put in it, and also take your time.
yeah. I know. Well, that's the first thing I said too, was right. Like your pacing
Hmm.
was much better. Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, when we get nervous,
Mm-hmm.
we want to fly through it, just get it over with. Because there's some pieces in it that deserve um, their own space. Listen, if you could put more of your money back into your pocket instead of giving it to Uncle Sam, the banks, the bill collectors, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Because once you pace it and you put the correct tone, and you really like it puts some extra on that. Because think about it. And I have an unfinished video that I'm putting together right now. I started it, but then I had to go into a meeting. Um, but one thing I heard this weekend: people make over $1 million in their lifetimes. Even if they have a minimum wage job.
Mm-hmm.
If you make 25,000 a year for 40 years, that's $1 million. The problem is, you give 400,000 back to the government,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you could put more of your money back into your pocket, let's say you started a home-based business, instead of paying 40%, now you're only paying 25%. That 150,000 difference, that's equal to $300 a month for 40 years. If you invest $300 a month for 40 years, you could pretty much generate $1 million by retirement.
Yeah. The lost opportunity cost. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of that money that you are losing, getting it back in, yeah, you made $1 million. You had to give Uncle Sam, and you had to live on one, but in 40 years, you could still have $1 million if you put that money back in your pocket. And once I realized that, stuff like that. So when you said, I need to study the content, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
that gives you
Yeah.
posture. Because I
Yeah.
did that today. I looked at the numbers. I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
150,000 over 40 years is $300 a month. $300 a month at 8% interest. That's $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, holy crap. So,
But I appreciate like this time. I'd love to have a time where like we do this, like we practice, we get feedback, and we kind of practice that skill.
yeah. And that's what I want to do twice a week also. And so when we get to stuff, um, that stuff is there. But the posture in knowing that number, put $300 a month back into your pocket over a span of time, can make you a millionaire. If you could put more of your money, it changes how you present the information. If you could put more of your money back, side note, if you had $300 a month and you put that back into your pocket over the time that you've been working a job, that's $1 million. So imagine you could put more of your money back into your pocket instead of giving it to these knuckleheads. Wouldn't you? You're almost saying it with frustration, like, this is disgusting. Like, wouldn't you? Like, and you feel it in your spirit when you tell it to people. So, embrace that, but also just take your time with it. Because a lot of times when we aren't used to saying it, and I probably said it more than anybody else, because I practice the script, training it with anybody else. But when I spoke to the guy on Saturday morning, whenever that was, it flowed just like that. When I spoke to Brandy at the bar, it flowed.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep throwing it out there, and it'll just continue to flow. But take your time with it, as I would say as well. And the edification piece, I just threw that in there because it was, we just went over it not that long ago. But I could have easily done it without that part and still had the same flow and stuff. But yeah, so work on that for sure. But in your building of content, like, own some of that stuff. Like, that's a crazy difference between the government taking 40%, the government taking 25%. You invest in a difference and being a millionaire because of the difference. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the second part of the video that I didn't finish yet. Right. So, but yeah. now the question is, go
The
ahead.
video pass, right? So you say, yes, I'm going to shoot you a video to check out. I don't know. I think the short one is too short for me. I prefer the 10-minute or potentially the 17.
No, I think I'm leaning more
That's the
towards the
question.
17 because we're already asking. We're asking, have they heard of income shift? And they say no. We're giving them what it really is: put more of your money back into your pocket instead of giving it to the big three. We're giving them the 3 down, 3 up. We're just saying in your pocket instead of 3 up.
Yeah.
And then we're giving a 17-minute video, and then from there, I might change that on the form. Just make it the 17-minute video, and then from there, I can close beautifully. So that's what I'm doing with Jihad sent a few people to me already.
And he's been sending the 17.
He's sent them to me. I'm sending them 17th, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Yeah, the gas is blowing on the 26th side for now, period. I'll let you know if that changes in the morning, period. Thank you, period.
I like that. I think if that's also, kind of talking about, because that's Brian's 17-minute, right?
Yeah, and it's still, I
Yeah.
I like it. It flows pretty good.
Yeah. And I think it's just a great tie into kind of some of the stuff we talked about this weekend that came up with,
Okay.
with him and kind of getting back to a lot of that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So here's what's going to change. So where it says the passing to the 4-minute video, it's going to say pass to the 17, and then it'll have the perfect. Check this out, and I'll connect with you later. I'll probably change that to how soon can you take a look at it and get back to me type of deal. Let me move this real quick. After they watch, if you had all open, yeah. So I'll probably have to change the second bullet.
Yeah, to go along with the language from
Yeah.
video.
So we'll adjust that, but I like that much better. And then I will then you pass them to the expert for the close.
Yeah.
If you because the question then becomes, okay, cool. Listen, so did you like this or that? And they say I like this. Perfect. Let me connect you with the person so he can show you how to get that started. And answer any questions, and then pass them. I say, hey, glad you got a chance to see it. Let's connect here 2 times. We'll do a quick Q&A and see what the best options are. Q&A starts. All right. Shoot your questions off. But let me ask you this. Boom. Get into the Q&A. I think, yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, cool. Because after this is the question, income shifting. And I like doing this also. Sean did a version of this. He did it based on a model we used to do for a whole different company, but it talks about the power of one. If you get one, if you talk to if you peak one person a day, you could easily get one partner a month, and if it doubles, if it goes, you do it to 12 months, it's 4,000 people. And then what we do is, because it's the power of it, duplication.
Mm-hmm.
If I speak to one person a day, and that's all I do is ask that one question every single day. Have you ever heard of income shift? And someone says no, of course. Or they say, it sounds familiar, but okay, cool. Well, listen, if you could put more of your money back into your pocket instead of giving it to Uncle Sam, the banks, big business, inflation, wouldn't you? They say, absolutely. They say, okay, well, listen, send you some information. If you can do that once a day, you can absolutely get one partner a month. Anyone can get one partner a month if they did that consistently, one person a day. If it duplicated perfectly, and this is perfect duplication, it's never going to duplicate this perfectly.
Yeah.
But if it duplicated perfectly, it'd be, almost 4,100 people. Now, the cool part is when you really break down that number, if you got that number halfway right, that's 2,000 people in a year, right? Whether that's a mix of customers and business partners, doesn't even matter because they're all 3 points in our system, right? If you got a 25% right, now you're talking about 1,000 people which is
For
still
sure.
a huge number to do in 1 year. But I like to tell people, well, if you got a 10% right? You didn't talk to one person a day. You talked to one person, once a week, because that's about a fourth of the. That's a tenth of the day would be 3 times a month. Right? Talk to person 3 days out of 30 is to a 10. Right? So if you got this thing 10% right, and you were still able to do that, that's still over 400 partners, which is 1,200 points. And if you look at the compensation plan, and here's the part where I want you and Tasha need to talk to Jihad about this also. By Florida or by Game Changer. Florida is February, the first weekend of February.
Yep.
Game Changer is the last weekend of March.
Yep.
So by February, I want everyone to pick a goal. Pick a goal, because everyone is where they are. By everyone should be 5 to 20 by then, right? What's your reaching goal? What's the goal that's going to stretch you a little bit by February or March? I don't care which day people pick.
Can you go back to the duplication numbers? Okay, so that's November, December, January. So
Don't
it's
use don't use these. I'm gonna show you how to go backwards from here. Ignore these numbers.
okay. Okay. All right. Well, then never mind. Go back to the other slide.
No, these numbers are independent of our goal setting. These numbers just show if there's perfect duplication. It's better to reverse engineer it as opposed to use perfect duplication. It's never going to happen perfectly, right? So I'm glad you asked that question on video, because people will be compelled to say, well, if I did 2 and they got 2 and then they got 2, then don't do that. It's never going to happen now, right? What number by February or March? Pick which one, right? If you want to shoot for March and then use February, if you shoot for February, use March as a cushion, fine. If you want to shoot for February and then by March you'll be at the next one, that's fine.
I want to be comma club. I want to be 40
by February or March.
I think, well, let's aim for February and make March be the
Can do both.
fallback. You just said that.
So you want to do it by February. You don't want to state both. You want to. I was giving you the if you do both,
Well, I feel
March
like it
becomes
could be
your
a
goal.
definite. I feel like it could be a definite for March. If I was pushing it, I'd push for February. Because you're kind of saying what would stretch you.
Right. So pick February if that's going to stretch you.
Okay.
Knowing that if you miss the 4th, you can still get there by March. But
Yep.
you're going to pick one of the two. You don't want to pick
Okay.
both.
No,
'Cause
yeah.
if you pick
February.
If you pick both, you're picking the second one. just
Okay.
know that. If you pick both, you're picking the second one.
All right. So so that's my first one. I'm going to write that down so I can put it on my phone. Tasha, what about you?
March. The same, at $40 a day.
Okay, perfect. So let's go back to the screen real quick. Because here's how you will reverse engineer it, right?
Okay.
So 40 a day is 108 team points, and you divide that's 36 people.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
36 people, and that includes their customers as well, I'm pretty sure. So 36 people, which is 3 that get 3. No, that's 12. 3 that get 3, they get 3. I believe it's 36, right?
Yep.
And again, it's not going to happen that perfectly, but 36 people, how many days until February 4th?
Hold on. Let me get my.
I'm going to show you how I would break it down. February 4th is when. So let's say full month, January, December, so 60 days. So let's say
Like 11 weeks, 4 days.
say it's 2.5 months, right? 11 weeks, 4 days, 2.5 months, whatever it is. And let's say for
So 10 weeks, we'll say.
right.
Okay.
So let's say for if we're doing a 50, 15, 5 sheet, that's a 10% ratio. Because I mean, if you talk to 50, you'll get 5. It's a 10% ratio. And I like using 10% as ratio, even though as you get better at it, you'll increase that ratio. But 10% is a really good ratio.
Right. So how many groups of 5 do I need to get 36, right?
So
And then we're going to go backwards to the 15 to the 50.
say that one more time.
So like how many, because 5 would be the number that join up out of the 50, 15. Right. So
You could do it that, or you can just do 10% of. So if you need 36 people, you need to talk to 306. You need to ask 360 people that question.
mhm.
And then if we have 2 months, 2.5 months. So if we have 60, say we have let's say we have 70 days. 360 divided by 70 is what?
5.2 if I'm rounding up.
Right. So here's the beauty. You can ask, and according to you, with using your numbers, you can ask 5 people every single day, right? Which is about 30 to 40 a week, or you can do your 10 a days 5 times a week. That's how you do that. That's how you know if you're on pace.
Okay. I feel like you went really fast. And so.
So, yeah, you're a math teacher. I thought you would stick with me.
No, yeah. But so.
What I've noticed
I get
is
the
how I calculate stuff is different than what math teachers would teach in class, which is interesting.
Listen, I am not your average math teacher though either.
I
So.
know. So we have
So
70.
I get that if I need 36 people, multiply by 10, right? Because that's the rule, right? So 10% of people that exposed will actually join us in one way or another.
Correct.
So I get the 36 times 10 gives me, okay, 360, but that's 360 peaked folks.
That's 360 people you have to ask that question. Now,
Right.
have you ever heard of income shifting? Right. Because when you say you reach out to 10 a day, I have no idea what that really means anymore. Because we have so many terms. Because really, if you break it down to 2 basic categories, prospecting and marketing, reaching out to people and then putting stuff where people reach out to you. Those are only 2 categories I think we should keep track of, because everything else is, it feathers everything away. If you're actively going after people, once you ask them a question and they say yes or no, they go on that 50 sheet.
Right. Yeah, that's how I'm using it.
Right. Reaching out means talking.
Ask the question. Yep.
Right. Reaching out just means talking. So
right. And that's right. Okay.
The fact that we're talking to people is called being a human. So I don't want to track that anymore.
We use the rule of 10% for everything then. So it's the same way. So if I need to peak 360 people, I need to multiply that by 10, and that's how many reach outs I should be doing, because only 10 people are actually going to respond and get peaked.
So I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Throw that reach out shit in the trash.
What do you mean?
Because what is reaching out to 10 to get to ask 10 people is a question. You have to reach out to 100 people to ask 10 people a question? Explain it to me.
I don't understand. So then what's the concept of 10 a day?
10 asking asking 10 people, have you ever heard of, will get you to your number. What's the purpose of reaching out if you're not going to ask the question?
Right, but like some people don't respond. So, you know what I mean? Like if I reach out, if I'm
So don't count them. No, she's talking about just putting the message out to people.
because that's like the prospecting, right? So basically you're prospecting 10, then who you get to ask the question to becomes the peaked people who then
You
you
are-
then ask.
But you're asking the question to the 10.
What I'm telling you is you're adding a layer that's not necessary.
So then how do I set? Okay. Maybe this is for another time.
You're gonna ask 10 people the have you heard of question. That's it.
Right, but you have to like say, like if I'm, especially if I'm doing it via text, like I understand if it's a conversation, that's easy. If I call someone up and get them on the phone, but if I'm texting or I'm messaging them on Facebook, then it's like, hey, how's it going? Like you have to have that, hey, what's up? Or hey, I saw it was your birthday. What did I miss? Before you ask. So I might be like right? Kind of like we talk about filling the pipeline, right? Like I may be like waiting for someone to respond over here, whereas these people I'm talking to in person or on the phone would be a peak right away versus people who are like waiting to respond in different conversations in different places.
But piquing interest is that it's whether you see someone on the street in person at the mall you ran into, whether you hit someone in Facebook Messenger, whether you text someone, it's all piquing interest. It's just different modes of communication, talk, text, phone, Google. It's the same thing. You're still communicating.
And mind you, Tasha hasn't been through all of the different versions of the training that you've been a part of. She understands what I understand. It's all prospecting.
It's all.
So
right, which is what I'm saying. But you're saying that if,
He said one thing, and then you said, well, what about the reaching out?
Hold on, babe. Hold on.
Oh,
So if you need to multiply that 10 a day by 10, that means you need to reach out to 100 people a day. It shouldn't take you 100 reach outs to get to 10. Like literally, if I reach out to someone and I say, hey, what's going on? I shouldn't have to reach out to 100 people to get 10 responses. That's a lot.
right, but I think I was just thinking of the analogy you were making with like the coins in the pocket, right? So if you had 10 pennies in your pocket and you were looking to move them to the other pocket as you connected with people or prospected, but the point I'm making is if let's say that's what I said, okay, I'm going to do 10, but the people who I do in person, I've definitely asked the question to, but some people who haven't responded yet I might not get the question for them until the next day. If it's on Messenger or if it's on text or.
Got it. Then you count that 10 on the next day then.
Okay.
I wouldn't count reach outs.
No, all right. So
if you start tracking reach outs, you're doing a lot more.
Okay. So 10 a day is like work until you've peaked 10.
Your goal is you got it, babe?
No, I don't.
So what we did this is before even Kristen got in the business. We did this before. We started tracking how many people were you reaching out to, meaning just saying, hey, how you doing? How many conversations were you starting? Right. So then we started tracking how many conversations were you starting. But at the end of the day, tracking that is not as important as tracking connections.
Why was that started in the beginning?
Because
a way to get people familiar, or
it's like even a daily goal to like kind of create the habit.
Okay.
But it was helpful to break down the different layers of prospecting. Right. So there's the listening part, listening for their pain points, and then using that to pique their interest. With our, hey, have you ever heard of? If you could, would you? You don't need the pain point. Literally simplified that part. Now, when it comes to closing, you can add that part, but you don't need the pain point when you just ask someone, hey, let me ask you a question. Now, if you know them, you can go for it and you can try to figure it out and really get into the conversation. But literally, the chick at the bar, she's sitting there asking questions. I said, well, let me ask you this. And just the beauty of let me ask you is a brain hack that freezes people's thoughts. And once they're frozen, you ask that question, You don't really need all of the, well, what do you do for work? And let me, what do you do for recreation? You don't need all of that with this particular strategy.
So if we were going back to the role playing, that would come before it would, or it would come in place of.
What
Have
do you
you
mean?
have you ever heard of, like, hey, let me ask you a question, or what did you say?
I still use that. Let me ask you a question because it gets them to stop in their tracks.
And then you say, have you ever heard of income shifting?
Yeah. The have you ever heard of is just the, it's just the start
Or
of the
whatever
sentence. Yeah. It we don't consider it the first question, but it literally is the first question. And let me ask you a question. It's not. It's more of a request than it is a question. But
So
with
can we
this,
just add that into our, like, how we're gonna, like, can we just add that into the flow of how we're gonna,
we're good.
like, into our sheet?
Yeah. We're good.
I feel like if you found it to be really successful.
Yeah.
And I think it also intros that short, like, people who you're trying to just get right to the point with. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the intro to the question.
It is, and you don't always need it. So again, the guy at breakfast, we're talking. He's sitting there. He's saying, "So what's going on?" I said, "Well, have you heard of income system before?" Because we were already in the middle of a conversation. So you may or may not need it, but I'll add it. It's not mandatory, but it's a quick little brain hack that's pretty handy to have. So I'll put it there also because
I'm thinking more for, I mean, I get that it could work verbally, but I'm thinking that it would also be great for the people who you're not connecting with verbally, like who you might just be shooting a text message to, or
text and verbal also. They're just not auditory. Stay on verbal.
say that again. I'm sorry.
Text messages are also verbal. They're just not auditory. It's verbiage, still verbiage.
Yes.
But yeah, I get you. So yeah, it doesn't harm anything to add it in there. But what I'm saying is you don't have to increase it by a multiple of 10 as far as your reach outs go. Like the 10 pennies is literally 10 pennies of people that were peaked in our, using our different layers of prospecting language. Peaking their interest is part of prospecting. When we used to do the old school analogy, it was prospecting like with the gold rush prospectors. You would sift through the dirt. You put the sifter in, and you would shake the sand out and put it in some running stream, and then you would find whatever thing was glistening and gold at that point. But it was all part of that process: the sorting, the digging it in, finding the right spot, finding a flow of water. We talked about all that. That was all part of prospecting. Prospecting wasn't one thing, and then sifting was something else, and then finding the gold was something else. It was all prospecting. So somehow we've changed prospecting just be one part of that, when prospecting at one point meant all of it. And then within prospecting, you had reaching out, piquing their interest, sorting them, and then the pass. But that's all. So it's really what I would love people to do as far as our training, just to make it simpler, understanding that there's really just two categories: prospecting and marketing. You reaching out to them, they reaching out to us. You reach out to them because of whatever reason. Saw them at the grocery store, text them, saw them on Facebook, they responded to a post you put up, or you put up something and they raise their hand, say, hey, I had a question about that. Hey, I like that. And then once they raise their hand, we still have to reach out to them. So even with marketing, we still have to follow up as a lead, which is still part of prospecting. But marketing is the part where they reach out to us and say, hey, I like what you said, in any way, shape, or form. So the numbers, so there's, I think it was 70, it's almost 80 days. So 80 days, so 360 divided by 80 days. And you said how many weeks did you say it was? Let's do about weeks. I like the weeks better.
10 weeks.
Okay, so let's say it's 10 weeks. Beautiful, 10. Love it. So that
Well,
means,
just a little more than that, but we have like Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day.
right, got it. So,
So.
so every week you're gonna prospect, you're gonna have 30 people, 35 people, 36 people based on our number, right? 36 people, you have to ask that question to.
Yeah.
So if you do that by 5, then you're talking about 8 a day. If you're doing it by all 7 days, then you have a few less to do. 5 to 6, so anywhere if you do up to 8 a day, you reach out to people and then you get that question in. Every time you ask that question, you put them on a 50-15-5 sheet. So by the time we get to February, there should be 50. What's 50 to 30? 360 divided by 5. Why am I missing this?
Well, that would be double, right?
It'll
Like
be
72.
no, it'll be
Yeah. It's
yeah.
360 divided by 10 would be 36. So divided by 2 would be, divided by 5. Yeah, 72. You said 360 divided by 5, right?
Yeah, I'm off. It'd be 360 divided by 50. So it'd be 7 sheets.
Yeah.
Right. So that also helps. So by the time we get to February, you want to do at least 7 to 8 sheets. Right. So if you fall behind, you can just catch up. So it really breaks down to a sheet a week.
Whoa, we just said 36 people per week.
Right. But if you
No, let's just stick with the numbers. Yeah,
I get it.
if I can hit the 50 mark, that's great, because there's definitely plenty of cushion. Yeah.
Right. So if you want the cushion, then you can shoot for that per week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the sheet will give you a good gauge of if you're ahead or behind. If you're only halfway through the sheet at the end of the week, you know where you are. So the sheets are a good gauge as far as how you're doing with that number. So I think that's a good way to gauge what we're doing. So at least half a sheet a week, but really if you're pushing yourself, you want to do a sheet a week, and then that'll get you to your goal by February. All right. And I think those numbers, and I like this version better than how many reps do you want, by the end of the month, because you can't control how many people sign up, but you can control how many people you actually talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you get through a whole sheet, you got nothing, then we can start looking at, okay, what am I saying? Let me practice what I'm saying a little bit differently too. Right. You get to 20, you get halfway through one sheet, you got nothing. You should start looking at what you're saying and see if you can adjust. So, sound good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now for your phone, set your phone, set a weekly reminder of 36 people per sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And then their phone's going to go off a week from, so next Monday, it's going to say 1.5 columns of the sheet is done, or whatever you want to put in your phone reminder.
36 people.
36 people on the sheet, right? Whatever it's supposed to say.
Yeah.
Right. My goal is going to be a sheet a week. And then every week we can come in and say, hey, look at my sheet. Then we got some visual reminders also. So we can do that every Monday as well. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool. Any other questions? I gotta get ready for the MW. I'm gonna get ready. Sean's gonna do most of the work. Oh, got a Project Greenwood like. All right. That's good.
Tasha, yeah, I don't want to be stealing all the time.
It's perfectly fine, trust me.
On the quick start sheet on our sheet for getting started, the Dream Chasers one, the link that you have is that the EDM where Brian goes through, it has all the it has all the 9 videos and the, you know what I'm talking about? The first link. Yeah, slide 3.
That's not the bottom, though.
No. I'm sorry, did I say bottom? That's my bad. There's no better time than now. Oh, that's just,
That's a Brian Bean video. It's one of the ones that he has when you get started, one of his get starting videos. What video were you looking for?
no, I just was thinking, you know how you were talking about the 9 videos and we went to the EDM web page
Uh-huh.
and you talked about those and how those are only really good for like your warm to hot market.
Uh-huh.
I'm just wondering if that's part of our onboarding. Like, I feel like when we first joined the business, that's really who you're going. Like, that's the first people that you want to expose. So it almost might make sense for us to look at those and say, look through these and send them to those people that you really know well, because those are the videos that are kind of designed for those folks. You know what I mean? And shoot off the ones that make sense for the people that you know and just copy and paste it. You know what I mean? It's just a thought you can kind of marinate on, or maybe you already know.
So so at the bottom of our form is the 50 is Brian's all of the EDM stuff is at the bottom of our form, right?
I'm just thinking, like, I know a lot of times the initial barrier to get started is like, how do I have those conversations with people when like they're nervous or they're not really sure? And I feel like those resources kind of were designed for that, to help kind of break that ice for folks coming in. If you like have people that you know what I mean? When you're really going to the people that you know first to share.
Yep.
But all right, I got mine.
The updated one's on my other computer. I think this one has them at the bottom now. It's not the most up. So at the bottom here, let me just go through this real quick. So the challenge is this, right? We have the
Okay.
we have the stuff there. We have a home page. There's several options there. There's 9 options there. So think of a new person who sees all these different options and can pick one of these different options to send to their people. Those are there. They can go to that. They can use those.
Okay, so it's kind of like this is the toolkit. Kind of go through them and see which one.
Right, because if they click on it and they have it, it says what they're there for. The have you ever heard of is a universal one. Doesn't need, it works from cold to warm. So it's always going to be my favorite because it's universal. Things that are universal are highly duplicatable.
Okay.
So my son's using nothing, and I have no idea what he's saying, but he's getting people to text.
But he's passing people.
Right. So he's doing text threads and he's passing. I said, well, just see if they're interested in passing, and people are passing and saying, "Oh, send me the information." Someone just at 7:17 said, "Yeah, send me the information." So, and we'll tweak it because I don't want him to just fire hose people. But if people are ready to go, they're going to go. If they're trying to figure it out, simplicity is always better. And when you have, and you experience this also, when you have something that's scripted, then you start worrying about, does it sound like me? Are people going to ask me, is this me? Because when you start copy and paste scripts, people start to say, who is this? So we've all had that experience happen when we did something that was too scripted. That's why I like the question. The question is just universal. Hey, what's going on? Hey, you playing basketball later? Hey, real quick, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of income shifting? It fits anywhere. So I always take them through the links at the bottom because I want them to be part of EDM. I want them to get Brian's videos at YouTube. That's automatic training, so they need to turn those on ASAP. And I want them in the EDM community because then they get all the updates. So we have a system that we have there as well. And then I want them to have this sheet. So in their first 30 days, they can knock this out. And then we get the 50-15-5 sheet. We got Brian's trainers on at 9:30, which is just a ton of just dope mindset stuff. And anyone who watched the 17-minute video, they don't get it, then we put them on any available Zoom because by then they've already seen a full thing. If they see it twice, there's nothing more we can, if they don't join, that's really on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I always show the text threads. They can watch the video. But our training is going to be on this one sheet, and then Brian's training on Wednesday night is going to be on that process also. And they both support each other. They're both talking about text threads. And then folks can decide, hey, I like this better. I like this better. That's fine. But have you ever heard of was his thing originally, and we've never lost that one. That one stood the test of time. The scripts have changed over time. They've changed 200 times. We have this new one now. Is this $100? This is $1.49? Does it feel like $1.49? Does it feel like 149,000? That's new. Those things keep changing. The one thing that has not changed in 2 years is, hey, have you ever heard of?
Mm-hmm.
Has not changed. If there's a concept that won't change, and the tie downs won't change. So that's what our stuff is. Our stuff is stuff that won't change. So if folks want to add the other stuff also, those are just conversation starters. And those things have changed and changed and changed and changed.
Cool. Rick, can you throw that 17-minute video in the chat really quickly so I can send it to the guy I met at the airport yesterday?
Absolutely. This chat right now, you want me to text it to you?
Oh, you can text it to me. That'd be great.
All right, I'll text it. If I could just send it to somebody.
Tasha, we about to blow up.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Number 1 of 36. That's it.
It don't count if it ain't on the sheet, it don't count.
I'm about to send this video and then put the name on the sheet.
All right, there you go.
After I send the text.
Well, I already have about 5 on my sheet, so you need to catch up.
All right.
All right, sis.